Hello, everybody. Yes, now I am live on the YouTube channel. If I wasn't depressing enough before on my Rumble stream, I'm going to be very, very depressing now. As you can see, we're going to talk about what the Supreme Court just did to my state, but it's not just my state. It's every state, because the United States Supreme Court now for certain has an affirmative action hire on there, and it's basically destroyed the court. I cannot believe the decisions that are coming out of this court now these days based on, well, I don't know, fucking logic. I mean, could we be a little bit fucking logical about, the Supreme Court, especially when it comes to the Constitution and the amendments like the Second Amendment? They seem to be all over the first fucking amendment, especially when it comes to this abortion bullshit. Or not. They gave that up. I'm just fucking ranting. But I'm so fucking irritated with this bullshit. Supreme Court on Friday refused a request by Missouri to reinstate a state law that bars police officers from enforcing federal restrictions on sole ownership of firearms that the state believes violate the Second Amendment. A federal judge ruled earlier that the state law itself was unconstitutional, which is fucking bullshit, and blocked the state from enforcing the law. It is an unsigned order on Friday. The justices left that the decision be left in place while the state's appeal continues in the lower courts. And Thomas was the only one that stood up for it. But Alito and Gorsh, I mean, I cannot believe them standing against the Second Amendment, especially when the Supreme Court has ruled on issues like this previously. Basically, what this entails is the Second Amendment Preservation Act of the state of Missouri entails that no law enforcement, no state officials, no one can get involved with a federal law enforcement action, so to speak, quote unquote, that involves Second Amendment issues, especially issues that are unconstitutional on their face. All right, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But basically, law enforcement is not allowed to help the feds come in and violate citizens' rights. Now, that's all that it says. I don't think it went far enough. I think it should have been written into that if the feds come into the state to violate a citizen's right based on an unconstitutional edict published by the fucking ATF, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, they should be actively protecting the citizens. Oh, I got a comment. Hey, look at this. Oh, man. All right, come on, hang on. Too many things to bounce around. Huh. Cool frog. Cool. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it, bro. But anyway. And that's it. Okay, well, and that's it. I'm forgetting where I'm at because I got sidetracked. So law enforcement should be protecting the citizens, especially against the bullshit edicts that are being published every other fucking week by the fucking corrupt ass fucking ATF. Now, we can go into one of the particular reasons why the state is and can allowed to do that. And then we'll go into the Supreme Court case real quick, showing why they can't do this, because it's already been ruled upon by the Supreme Court. All right, this is starting on Wikia. This is where I ended up at when I was looking at the nullification and just getting into this. But state refusals to assist in enforcement of federal law. It is noted above, the Supreme Court indicated in Prigg versus Pennsylvania, 41 U.S. 539, 1842. The states cannot be compelled to use state law enforcement resources to enforce federal law. Okay, that's enforcement of a federal law. That doesn't say anything about an unconstitutional edict. Now, this is just for federal law. So, federal government cannot force a state to participate in actions. It can't force the state to give it resources for a federal law enforcement action. All right? And so, that was not just Prigg in Pennsylvania, but it was also Prince versus United States in 1997 and New York versus United States in 1992. which held that the federal government may not enact regulatory program that commandeers the state legislative and administrative mechanism to enforce federal law. All right, now let's go and take a look at, let's look at the first one, Prigg versus Pennsylvania. Now, the write-up on this was almost 700 pages. So I had to go in and dig. It's not right there on the top. To show that the Supreme Court has already ruled on this. Now we're going to come over to here, and this is where we're at. This is the Constitution annotated. These are Supreme Court cases, and we're going to open up the Prigg versus Pennsylvania. And you can see all the way down here on pages 615 and 616, it does not point out that any state functionaries or any state action to carry its provisions into effect. The states cannot therefore be compelled to enforce them, and it might as well be deemed that an unconstitutional exercise of the power of interpretation to insist that the states are bound to provide the means to carry into effect the duties of the national government, nowhere delegated or entrusted to them by the Constitution. The Supreme Court has already ruled on this. The state of Missouri was just adding an addendum to that, to an unconstitutional edict published by a rogue agency. Now, we've talked about this before, and I'm going to make this really fucking simple. Get yourself a business card, just a business card made out of metal. Etch something onto that little card. All right, etch it as, this is a machine gun. Okay, is it actually a machine gun? No, it's not actually a machine gun. Is a drop-in trigger group for an AR-15 or an AR-10, is that a machine gun? Now, I'm no gunsmith. Well, wait a minute. I am a fucking gunsmith. And I can guarantee you a drop-in trigger assembly for an AR-15 is not a fucking machine gun. Nor is a bump stock. Nor is a pistol grip. Nor is a fucking solvent trap. Nor is an oil filter converter for a solvent trap. None of those are machine guns. None of those are suppressors. None of those fall under the fucking NFA. But here we are, the ATF going door to door, knocking on people's fucking windows saying, hey man, you got a forced reset trigger? Hey man, did you know that's a machine gun? Hey man, did you know the ATF fucking ruled on that beforehand and they ruled that it wasn't a fucking machine gun? And then they changed their fucking minds to come back and be like, oh, hey, it is a machine gun. And the only people that it affects are law-abiding citizens. It doesn't affect criminals. And why is that? Because they're fucking criminals and they're not going to obey your fucking law to begin with. Why don't we just make some really simple laws? Why don't we make a fucking law that it's against the law to be a fucking criminal? To have criminal intent in your fucking monkey lizard brain. Why don't we just fucking do that? Because all the rest of the fucking laws that get generated up after fucking crimes occur don't do a fucking thing to affect the criminal. The criminal is going to be fucking criminal no matter what you fucking do. And we've already fucking talked about this. And you would think that the fucking government would have figured that out by now. But no, the government's too busy making a fucking profit off of all the fucking criminals and turning law-abiding citizens into fucking criminals. This is fucking insanity. This is fucking anarchy. This is what fucking anarchy looks like, people. We don't have fucking leaders. We've got committees. Nobody wants to be in a position of fucking leadership. They want the fucking power, but they don't want the fucking accountability or responsibility. And this is what we're seeing with the fucking Supreme Court now these days. The Supreme Court has gone completely off the fucking rails and it's ruling against itself now. What the fuck are we supposed to do? You got a legislative system that won't fucking function right because, well, we're going to legislate this on this particular issue. But the bill's 1,000 fucking pages long because there's 20 million tons of bullshit included in it on top of the original legislation. That should be fucking illegal. You should not be able to sneak legislation into other legislation. It's fucking insane. And yes, I know I use the F word quite a lot. It's an expressive word, and after all, I am Pastor Rapture. But I think this is just where I wanted to get with this particular one on the U.S. Supreme Court ruling against the Second Amendment yet again over an issue that they did rule on and that actually has nothing to do with what we're talking about. The state of Missouri said, if it's an unconstitutional edict published by the ATF, we're not going to help you enforce it. And they shouldn't. Edicts from the ATF aren't legislated upon. They just get shoved into other legislation, or they've been legislated upon by the NFA, which is unconstitutional on its face. Just another fucking issue to show you that we're living in completely fucking upside down loony land. Yeah, Froggy knows what I'm talking about. You get the legislation in there, it should be single legislation. That's it. We're going to talk about this particular issue, and this is going to be it. No more and no more. And we're not going to hide little shit in the back. We're not going to produce a fucking NDNA that's got, it's got shit in there for transgender surgeries in the military, which fucking trainees shouldn't be in the fucking military to begin with. If you're a transgender on hormone, you're a fucking junkie. And that's all you fucking are. You're so fucking confused about your goddamn sex and you're on all kinds of fucking drugs. Why the fuck are you in the military? Oh, to help weaken it. And that's the only fucking reason your goddamn delusional ass is included in the fucking military at this point. And now they're gonna take my tax dollars to give you a fucking surgery because you're fucking confused? Get the fuck out of here. I'm Pastor Rapture. Thanks for letting me rap at you. And I've got too many fucking screens here at this point. I can't even fucking log out quick, can I? Have a great one, people.
Bye.